bad content is going viral right now.
A lot of times you're like, oh, I got to be the cheapest to get the most customers. And I think whether it's retail, whether it's business to business, like that can sometimes be a little bit of a trap.
I would focus less on making your logo perfect and make your service excellent first.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Next Gen Strategies podcast. I'm Grant Cavalt. Joining me, as always, Mr. Tyler Davis. And we're going to take a little bit of a pivot from all the last couple. We've talked about some real stories, had some business owners. We've talked a lot about tax and finance, which, of course, is all in Tyler's world. Today, though, we have really excited. We have two different guests from AR Marketing, Melissa and Blake. Thanks for joining us today. It's my time. So we're going to talk a little bit about marketing today.
Fair enough.
So we're going to be covering a lot of different things that I think folks and our listeners who, whether they're founders or they're folks that are business leaders or maybe people coming in those business leadership positions, they really struggle with like, what the heck should we be doing with marketing? What should we be doing about branding and social media? And so we have the experts on today from AR Marketing. We're really excited. So thanks, guys, for joining us. I'm looking forward to a really good conversation. Thanks for joining.
Cool. Thanks for having us.
All right. So
This will be way more exciting than finance. Just
I don't know.
that's the goal. That's the goal.
Hey, everyone likes money.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. This
Yeah.
leads to money. This
It's
leads
true.
to money.
it does.
True.
It
That's
does.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So for folks who maybe don't know who AR Marketing is, and I'll just pose this to one of you guys, whoever wants to take this, tell us a little about who is AR Marketing? What do you guys do?
So I can take the lead, and Melissa, correct me if I'm wrong here, but basically, we're not just an agency. We're an extension of our clients' internal teams that bridges the gap between looking good and working well. Basically, we focus on being a full service partner. We don't just hand over a logo. We build the ecosystem like your web, social, creative strategy, things like that. Melissa, what do you have to add?
You're right. I mean, we pretty much do it all. And if we don't do it, we will find a way to help you. So, yeah.
Heck yeah. Well, we kind of want to go in order today because, like I said, we want to talk a little bit about branding. We also want to talk a little bit about, once you have that brand established, what does that look like in the different channels that you're maybe in? So let's start off with the foundation. And I'm going to defer to the creative director on here, Mr. Blake, for this first question. So, when a company says that we maybe need better marketing, how often is that really maybe the issue versus maybe some bigger things that you see in your world?
I would say almost always, if you think of like a house and a foundation, your branding is the foundation. If you build it on sand, you're screwed.
Yep.
So if your marketing is bad, you've got a brand problem, an identity crisis usually. So we always need to reevaluate that and make sure that everything is being consistent and relayed, the same consistently across all channels.
Yeah, 100%. And like from once you have some of that consistency, you've taken into account those things, Blake, like, from a design perspective, like what are some of the key ingredients that go into that?
So, brand clarity, basically we need to know what you're saying and we need to be consistent about it. And a lot of that comes to what your customers are saying, either positively or negatively. Speak to both those points. A really good way that you can say something really nice that fits in with the market is look at what your competitors are talking about and what their clients are talking bad about them. So if your competitors' clients are having a lot of bad reviews about them, you can speak to that and say, hey, we do XYZ really well. And if that's a pain point with your competitors' clients, then you're probably going to position yourself in a better way to compete really well against those folks.
For sure. And I think one of the things that, and you even see this on your side of this too, like, you have to know what your value is to your customers. And I think, to your point, Blake, like doing a little bit of that competitor research is super important because you got to understand like where you are positioned in the market and having that strong brand and understanding like, you might think that folks are coming to you because you're the, lowest price or highest quality, but until you start to, talk to them and understand like, oh, like if you don't talk to them and have a good understanding for why they came to you, like you're going to have a
Right.
little bit of a disconnect. I'm sure you guys have seen that too.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of people, their problem is they talk really good and they work a lot on their product, but not necessarily their brand or service. So if you take, for example, like a tow truck company, say you're dressed really nice and it's raining out and you've planned just enough time for a trip, a business thing or a business meeting, and you want to look nice, and then you get on the highway, you get a flat tire, you call a tow truck company. If they show up and they kind of explain why and how good their service is, you're like, man, this sucks. Like, this is great. You guys are awesome. But like, I need to get back on the road. And if another company comes and says, hey, we get you on the road in 15 minutes or less, and they do it, you're going to look more favorably on the one that delivers on their promise. And that's the important thing. Make a promise, deliver on it consistently.
Yep. So, let's say we've go through this process of, kind of identifying what those things are. Like you feel pretty good about the brand. And once things become clear, that's where things can maybe start to shift to where, you might want to be more proactive and talking about your brand in different online channels. And so Melissa, from your standpoint, once you do kind of have a little bit of that clarity, or you may never be fully clear on it, but you might have your best guess sometimes. How does that start to translate into, what you might be doing on social media platforms?
Yeah. Well, like he was saying, it's really important to lean into your brand, and not only online, but in person. So show up and do what is expected of you. So it's always that omni-channel approach to like, we have your brand, we understand your brand voice, but if I go in the store and I'm not getting the same experience that is promised online, like that can be a disconnect a lot of the times. So we have one of my favorite clients, they are really leaning into their brand and who they are. And they're a grocery store. They are expensive. They know that, but that's not the point of their store. The point is they offer great customer service. They are going to go out of their way to help you. And that shows up online too. When they get any questions or comments or reviews, positive or negative, they're responding, they're fixing the problem immediately, and they're taking ownership. And that's like really important to their brand.
Yeah. So like, maybe talk a little bit more about that, Melissa, because I think that's sometimes something that a lot of business owners get scared to do, is be maybe the higher priced, or not necessarily, a lot of times you're like, oh, I got to be the cheapest to get the most customers. And I think whether it's retail, whether it's business to business, like that can sometimes be a little bit of a trap. So maybe talk a little bit about like for customers that you've worked with, where it's like, no, like you have a superior value. Like what are some of the things that they maybe look at or do from that standpoint to really make sure that hits home and still works well for them?
Yeah, that's what I always talk about. Like for a lot of our clients is like, what is your differentiator and how can you lean into that? So like this client I'm referencing, they are expensive, but what we're talking about instead of like cheap deals is we're talking about, their sustainability practices. We're talking about the ways they show up in the community. We're talking about the people that work at the stores and live in the communities. And so we're really being a lot more authentic and taking the storytelling to another level instead of being like, oh, but we also have a great deal, because that's just not who they are. So I just really try to drive into the clients, like, just be who you are. Don't try to be something you're not. So that's that authenticity piece that we always talk about on social as well.
Yeah. And I think that when you're not authentic, it shines through so fast. Like if you're trying to be something that you're not, or, a lot of times people have a brand set up in a way where it's like super flashy and all these other things, but then you like meet the people or have the experience, you're like, oh, this is not the same. Like there's such a disconnect.
Can we talk about the McDonald's CEO? Because I feel like this is the most recent example of not being authentic.
Let's do it.
I don't even know. I've been saying this. I don't even know if he doesn't eat McDonald's. I'm not saying he doesn't. All I know is he obviously wasn't comfortable on camera and it wasn't the right role for him. So I don't know why his team let that go. But like, yeah, authenticity, that clearly missed the mark with a lot of people.
I just love to, like all the other CEOs were just getting after it. Like the Wendy's dude is just like, oh, I'll get on that burger,
Yes, and what a great opportunity for everybody else to like show some authenticity and get in on like real-time engagement. But
so
not great for McDonald's.
Right.
I have a brand question. So like maybe from your guys' experience, maybe you can share what this is like. But it seems like the the type of branding in terms of how it's created, like the styling of brand is like kind of has trends just like clothing has, I guess, like you'll see, oh, I want this super modern, like logo and I want this modern text. And then the next season might be, well, there's no text. And then there's this and there's that. Is that like an industry specific thing? Is that where kind of all brands kind of get similar and then it just changes and phases over time? How does that work with small businesses? Like, do we look at the bigs? Do we like, what is that world like? Because I know you guys are involved in the creation of these things.
Right. Yeah, I mean, trends come and go, and we try not to chase them. And it can be a little bit different than, what's trending now versus your long-standing brand. So your brand is going to be the things you say, how you say them, things like that. Your look can change here and there slightly depending on, what's changing in the world or with your customers and things like that. And the people that chase trends, are usually the ones trying to set them to a point if they're bigger and they can pivot like that. For the little guys, I would say it's much less important to look the part, changing constantly. It's just not cost effective and it confuses your customers. Consistency across things doesn't necessarily mean identical. It just means that the vibe is the same. We use style guides to make sure that we're, again, speaking the same language we should be and addressing our customers in the right way and things like that.
Yeah. Well, you guys probably drives you crazy to a certain extent. And me, just as a business owner too, it's like we all care so much about what our logo looks like. And then what I'm hearing you guys talk about is like your brand is way more than what this logo is. It's like actually what you're doing day to day and the consistency. And us as business owners want to spend all this time nitpicking a freaking logo and not spend all the time on, are we showing up as the tow truck driver and getting them in and out in 15 minutes like we say we do.
Yeah, it's way more important to, like we said earlier, make that promise and deliver upon it. Honestly, I mean, I'm biased. I love a good logo. I love to get in the weeds and like make things look really, beautiful.
Yeah.
And that, if you look rich, you probably are rich. We all judge a book by its cover. But, for small guys starting out, I mean, really small, I would focus less on making your logo perfect and make your service excellent first.
Yeah, for sure. So, this can kind of be for either of you, like what are maybe some mistakes that you see companies making when it comes to either things that they've done with their branding or maybe how they're showing up online, whether that be, websites or, social media or videos. Obviously, we gave it a good example of what McDonald's did. Like, what would be maybe some other examples that maybe you see? Not either one of you guys.
That's what I was going to say. Going along with that is just all of the brands are chasing virality. So everyone is trying to do everything, be everything, get on the next trend. And all the trends are not for everybody. I don't think social media is meant to be like entertaining for everybody. One of the controversial examples I like to talk about is the White House. I think their social media person's crazy. I don't think the White House is a place where we should be chasing trends and using viral sounds and trying to, I think it's more of a place to inform and educate, in my personal opinion. So I think it's just interesting that everyone, even including the White House, is trying to chase viral trends and moments. And what does that really do for you in your brand?
Yeah. You don't love the sound overs on TikTok of like, anyway.
I mean, I'll say sometimes funny. I see it on TikTok and I can't believe that it's real. So I go to their page and I look and it's real. So that's my hot take. I don't think everyone needs to be trending and viral and funny on social media. I think you need to, again, be you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And your brand.
If your CEO can't dance, don't chase the TikTok dance trend with that group. It's just bad.
Yep.
Yes. Don't make someone try to do something that they're not. Luckily, we have Eric and he will dance.
Yeah, they tried to stick me on TikTok a few times and I haven't been asked lately. And I think there's a reason for that. And I realize that.
I love it. So let's keep the social media train going. So talking a little bit about those trends, Melissa, you mentioned you need to be authentic to who you are and don't try to chase and be like overly viral with things, like stay consistent. So but to that end though, you do want to obviously stay up with some things that are current or things that, whether it's channels changing or whatnot. So like maybe what are some of those trends that you are seeing right now that businesses, whether it's the business leaders should be paying attention to it, the marketing people should be paying it more attention to? Like what are some of those trends that you're seeing that you should be like, oh yeah, I'm following that. We might need to incorporate that.
Yeah, I think the obvious one is video, but my favorite thing to talk about right now is just how people are searching, especially the younger generation, and how they're finding you. So what's really important right now is that you're showing up where they are. So for instance, if you're looking for a restaurant, if you want to go on vacation, for me, I'm on TikTok and I'm looking, for restaurants in Columbus, Ohio, to find my next place to go. I'm not on Google doing that anymore. And so most younger people are not either. So trying to show up on Instagram and TikTok with video is really important right now, instead of just searching and finding, links to articles and maybe looking at some pictures. Like they want to see the full on experience. They want you to take them into the restaurant, show them around, show them the food, give a review. So we're looking for a lot more, and we're looking for it through video.
So there's been a lot of success with specifically retail utilizing influencers, or even like just micro influencers for this regard. Are you seeing that as a potential strategy for small businesses now, especially like you already mentioned, the restaurants, where it's maybe not the business that creates all of that content, but they have influential people in their network that are helping produce that?
Yes. Influencers are still really big, but like you said, it's getting smaller influencers, micro influencers, people who are actually in your community and that your customers will actually see and follow. Another brand I love to talk about all the time is Crumbl Cookie. Most of their marketing is just through regular people like you and I going to Crumbl and posting a video of us in our car eating the cookies with our hands. And that does most of their marketing. And I think it's incredible. So trying to like tap into your community and try to create an experience or a product that makes people want to make content themselves. So I think that's more the power of UGC, and how can you get people to tap into that if you don't have the budget or the strategy for influencers yet. UGC is also really powerful.
And Melissa, I don't know if you have any more like super specific instances of like the micro influences working or not, but like I know I've had a lot of questions where, somebody's like, should I be spending X amount on like all these digital ads? And they don't have any reviews on their, Google profile, or they don't have anybody who's ever like gave them a testimonial for like a great service. And so I feel like sometimes they'll put cart before the horse of like, ads can be great and can be really, really effective. But if you don't have like that core, maybe foundation of like reviews, or it could be even easier to just like, listen, you've got somebody visit your coffee shop 5 times a week, like go ask, Joe or Susie to leave you a testimonial. Like that could go a lot further. Do you see like any, or have any thoughts around that, or like how maybe, what you should be doing first or together with that aspect?
Yeah, I still think like influencers is like almost step 3. Like you said, build your foundation. Like, do you have your Google listing up to date? Is your social media, are you posting constantly? We don't want to see just one random influencer post that came in and tried your coffee. Like we need to see a lot more than that for it to be believable and authentic. So building your foundation is always going to be your best bet. And I always say like, pick your channel that works for your audience and for you, and do it well. And then start looking into other strategies. Maybe that's influencers. Maybe it's another channel to add to that. But I always just talk about picking the right channel for your business and then doing one thing really well before you, because there's so much social strategy. We could go on forever. So
for sure.
Yeah, that's a good point, because it's so easy to be distracted. You're like, well, I should put this on Facebook and then Instagram and then TikTok and then LinkedIn and then
it's
blog.
like, wait, what's Threads? Am I supposed to be on Thread? What's going on here? Like, how do I do that? And it's like, no. Most businesses don't have time.
Yeah.
So that's just the reality of it, especially if you don't have a full team and it's just you doing it. Like, just pick a channel and do that really well.
Right. And there's like other things to consider too, like politically, if you look at Blue Sky versus X, I mean, you're not going to want to be on one or the other, maybe not, depending on your brand and your customers. And to Melissa's point, your time, those are very highly active social channels. And if you're not willing to be part of the conversation, then you shouldn't be on there.
For sure. So we're talking a lot about maybe, trends, different channels to be on, but I think another one of the big things to focus on is not just being in front of your customers, but also making sure like they are engaging with the stuff that you're doing, because that is even more probably important in a lot of cases. So to kind of either one of you, whoever wants to kind of take this, like, I mean, we see it all the time where folks will say, well, I'm getting the eyeballs, but I'm not getting the engagement, or how do I get more conversions, or how do I know that what I'm doing is working? So maybe what you can speak to a little bit of like, what actually do you see works well to actually drive engagement, which is, reacting to things that they're seeing online, like whether it's brand, whether it's video, like what are those things that you see like actually drives good engagement most of the time?
I think right now, go ahead.
No, just clear and consistent messaging for sure. That's, the main thing. If you can do that well and all the time, you're going to get eventually more clicks. And a lot of times, it takes some time to get that incubation period where people are seeing it and like, reacting to it, because sometimes you might do something just good enough, but maybe it takes 6 or 7 times before somebody sees it before they actually like, oh, hey, I'm going to chime in here. Or this might not even be relevant, but I think the thing that I see the most engagement from, based on what I've tried, is rage bait, basically, where you say something wrong or you give a wrong piece of information and somebody's definitely going to chime in, but that's that engagement versus, a real buyer perhaps. But sometimes the engagement is what they're after.
Yeah. And I don't think brands have realized yet what engagement means right now. Like, for instance, it used to be getting likes or getting a lot of followers. And I would say that's really shifted lately to shareable content. Like, people want to be able to share, like, are we making something that someone would want to post on their story or send to their friend, or, say, hey, check this out. So or tag your friend in the comments. I think that's usually my goal, is creating engaging content that gets people to share it with someone else or save it for later to reference. So those metrics are kind of shifting. And then another important piece of engagement is like the two-way street that social media is. That's what makes it unique for a marketing channel, is you get to talk to your customers directly. So are you responding back to them? Are you keeping the conversation going? And you're not just posting and leaving.
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing that a lot of business owners miss, especially like small business owners, where they're like, and I get it, like they're super busy sometimes, or maybe they're not necessarily super savvy when it comes to social. But like, to your point, Melissa, the responding and being authentic and like, having that engagement online, like not only does it, engage that person that was asking a question or making a comment, but everybody sees that response. Like, it will show up. So while you might be thinking that you're talking to one person, you're talking to thousands potentially. And I think that people miss that opportunity sometimes. It's like, all you had to do was take, 5 minutes and respond back to this person. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. People are waiting for you to respond to, even if they're not in the comments. Like, I'm thinking about when brands will be like, ask us anything on their story. And I'm watching and I'm waiting for other people to ask questions. Maybe I'm not asking them quite yet, but I do want to see the answers to what other people are asking. Yeah. And then there is a cheat code. I mean, you can ask yourself questions and answer your frequently asked questions yourself, and then people start to chime in. So trying to get the engagement going yourself is really important.
There's a professional level of like creeping, is what I call it. We do now. Like, so like if I'm looking for, like, I'm going to be looking for a roofer to help put like a vent in, I'm going to hopefully find a roofer and go to their Facebook page. And if I see like stuff going on, I'm going to read the comments. I'm going to be like private eye this thing, like multiple, and do it with different vendor or, different businesses. And like all of this is what exactly you're talking about. They could have had an interaction with somebody else. And then I'm sitting there in my pajamas reading it. I'm like, oh, that's pretty nice, and it could have happened 6 months ago,
Yes.
And the same thing goes for like, everyone's always like, Taco Bell, what are you doing here? Like in the comments. Brands are creeping and they are commenting on the most viral moments. And it's like, Scrub Daddy, why are you commenting? And what's Cheez-It doing over here? And so there's a whole nother level of engagement of these brands just commenting on other things that are happening. And so it's like, you might not have been thinking about them, but all of a sudden they're your favorite brand on TikTok because they're always commenting on something. Like Slim Jim is always in the comments of TikToks. I see them all the time. So that's a whole nother level of engagement that people are doing.
Yeah, for sure. I think one other thing like that one of you, if not both of you, talk a little about too is just like the importance of video and like organic photography or photos or whatever being a part of your social strategies is extremely important to drive viewership and engagement to like, you know, I have this conversation all the time where somebody's like, oh, like, okay, you want to shoot like a video, you know, we got to get like the professional photographers in and like that's going to be some big price point, all these things. I'm like, no, like, yes, there's a time and a place for that. Like, depending on, you know, if it's going to be a long-term thing on your website or maybe it's a core video, you know, where yes, you absolutely need to have the crew, the lighting, all the stuff, you know, obviously things that like you guys do, they are. But sometimes it's like, no, literally take a you know, $20 ring light and your iPhone and like go shoot something 30 seconds. Like it doesn't have to be something over polished. And I don't know if you guys have seen this too, but like sometimes it's the unpolished things right now that get the best engagement out of anything. Like make it be a
Bad content is going viral right now. Like we just had our boss Eric make a day in the life video for us and it was horrible. That was kind of what we figured would happen. He gave us horrible photos and videos from his trip. And it's going viral right now. He's getting like, it's our best video right now. And people love that because it's real. So that's what has been. So then now my clients are wanting to do that too. So we're kind of just like challenging them to take a 30-second clip and see what you can do.
Yeah, I think it comes a lot back to trust too. And I mean, with everything going on with AI, like I see it every day. I'm in it, I'm creating it, but like, I don't trust anything I see anymore. And if it looks like a crappily shot, you know, iPhone video, which is decent, actually, I trust it a lot more. And I think that's the trend that we're seeing a lot with video, but as well as design. Like a lot of stuff I'm seeing now is people are looking for that rougher kind of aesthetic because they want it to seem more human. I'm hearing that a lot too, more human. The tools are just becoming so good and accessible that people are craving that human connection and touch point.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I'll add in another thing to consider is just, you know, like this, we're doing a podcast right now, right? And I'm not saying that everybody has to go out and, you know, become a podcast star and do all this other stuff and learn all that stuff. But when you're doing, you know, whether it's thought leadership or you're shooting video or there's audio associated with it, like you can spend 30 minutes to an hour doing something and have 5, 6, 7 social clips that you can pull from that later and repurpose it. Like it's not something where you have to be just constantly thinking about like, what's my post going to be tomorrow? Or, you know, what are these other things we need to be doing? Like if you're doing really good, just kind of off the cuff, it could be off the cuff. It could be, you know, super scripted, but like there's a lot, and Melissa, I know you probably see this too, of like, you can pull clips, you can pull things to like repurpose it in areas and like, it can fill up a calendar pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how we developed our on-site social package. So for instance, we'll go to the Sweets and Snacks Expo in May. We will create as much content as possible in 4 days, and we will use it for an entire year. So it is really incredible what we're able to do we're doing phone footage, professional video, professional photography, but we're planning it out. So we make sure we have the right clips to last us an entire year until the next show. So that's something kind of crazy that we do, but it works really well if you know how to develop a content library.
Yeah. And I think, you know, that's one aspect. I think another aspect would be, you know, again, if you're maybe even like a business to business type of person too, like these folks, maybe it's a manufacturer that goes to these different trade shows, like have a social team potentially come with you there. Like you're already spending your salespeople are already there. You're probably spending a lot of money on a booth and a lot of money on logistics. Like, why not get as much bang for your buck as you can and make sure that you're capturing all these different things at that time and place? By the way, people at your booth are probably standing there half the time, not talking to anybody. I'll say it. So have them do some content creation like it is. And it's, you know, Melissa, to your point, like that can fill up so many different things throughout a calendar. Plus too, like, you know, and maybe you can speak to this, Melissa, like people are also drawn to like, you know, if you've got a camera crew doing something, like people are like, what are they doing over there? Like there's going to be there's going to be interest that you maybe didn't even know would come because they see something exciting happening at a booth or folks walking around with, you know, hats or whatever.
Yes. I was just going to say, we had camera crew, all of our gear, and then we were wearing some merch for the show, handing out merch, and so we attracted a lot of attention, which is great because you want to be able to get people engaged, and so the right people will come to you that want to be on camera and make it more authentic.
Yeah, and a lot of stuff is like really boring and safe a lot of times in the marketplace. So being a little different, even like 2 or 3% different and wild, it's going to attract attention. And that's the whole point of, marketing and branding, is just to stand out in the marketplace. And you just have to push the envelope a little bit to be different. And if you do
That's
a
why
lot, you're really going to be noticed.
That's what I always tell the team about trends too, because they'll be like, oh, they did this trend and they did it like this. And I'm like, yeah, but how should we do it for us? How can we make it that 10% different that makes it even better? Because it's not about copying people. It's about making a trend work for you.
Yeah, you don't have to reinvent the whole machine. You just have to do it in your own vibe to match your brand and your messaging and things like that. So it's full circle. Branding, implementation. We build the sandbox, and then Melissa's team kind of follows that and expands upon it to make sure that the message is heard.
Yeah, 100%. So gosh, we've touched on a bunch of different stuff, from brand to social to different trends that are happening. So as you both kind of are looking forward, right? I feel like we're kind of in this crazy period, at least from a marketing standpoint, that there are so much happening with AI. There's so much happening with the different channels and things changing over, and just how content is being, Melissa, you touched on how people are searching has just dramatically changed. And so as we look to the future of branding and social, if you're looking ahead a couple years, where do you see maybe things evolving even more, or what is going to be that future if we have the same conversation in a year or two from now, either with brands or with social or both? What do you guys think? Where do you think we're going?
I mean, I think the time between an idea and implementation of that idea just becomes quicker. It's what I'm seeing from my perspective is a lot of change in the processes that we're doing, and reduction of time, costs, and everything involved. We're able to go from, that idea to reality, as opposed to just maybe a mood board or a concept, to a full fleshed out working either brand or, we're working on one now with Sweets and Snacks, where we're trying to reimagine their show for 2027. And, I'm leveraging the AI tools that we have now to, hyper speed that production line from what I'm thinking in my head to what I can show the customer to what it would really look like. So from my perspective, it's a lot of process. And the faster we're able to produce more, the quicker we can get to a final decision and bring it to production level, like yesterday.
Yeah. Which I think makes a big difference, because you can then do more on the once it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but as things are produced, then you can spend even more time on what all can we do to execute this thing? Could we be putting more money behind the ads behind this now, or is there more opportunity to test and iterate different things? I feel yep. A/B testing, all these other things that can be happening right now. I feel like that's also going to increase and be even better moving forward as well.
Yeah, because we don't necessarily know all the answers. A lot of it is experimentation, and it's just speeding that up. So, I mean, A/B tests are great. I mean, we can run them, but, we can do A, B, C, D, E, F, G testing, in-house essentially.
Yeah.
Say, hey, we're leaning towards these two as really great options. So we can get to that final result a lot better. That's probably going to react in the market in a way that we think will work and resonate and create the interest and, the follow through from the customers.
Yeah. And I think one of the other things, and you kind of said this before, was especially if you're just maybe getting more serious about your marketing, a lot of times folks want to spend so much time on that, very initial, maybe it's the brand and what are those first things that are happening with it? And yet, yes, you need to spend time on that, but you also don't know what's going to work until you start to do different things. And marketing, I feel like people just think, oh yeah, it's a one time we did this, now we know what we're doing. And Melissa, I know you could speak to this too. You got to be listening, what is working, what is not working, what we maybe thought was going to work 3 months ago. Oh, we're actually seeing this is performing better than this. It's I feel like you have to be just so much more adaptive with what's changing too.
And faster, like we were saying, like I think that's what customers have come to expect, and it's just going to get even quicker. Like, how can you solve my problem faster, easier? How can you like respond to me on social media as soon as possible? How can I shop on social media quicker than ever? Like, I don't need to leave the app anymore. I need to shop right here. So I think the shopping experience has made things even more accelerated as well. And the way you're consuming content is quicker. And so you want everything in the palm of your hand and right now. So that is just going to get faster as well. So it's really just about solving your customers' problems faster.
100%. 100%. So like, I would say if I were to, think about things in the future, at least from a strategy standpoint, it kind of sounds like, yes, you need to have the foundations in place. Like you've got to spend that time to kind of know who you are, what you do, what your customers are. But then as things evolve over time, like we got to be making sure like that brand is representative of that, but then you are just constantly iterating on whatever it is that you're doing from a promotion standpoint. So a lot of really, really good stuff. As we kind of wrap up here, and I'll whoever wants to handle this one first, I got a question for you. So like, if you could give one piece of advice to a company that's pertaining to brand or to social media or marketing, what would be that one piece of advice you would give right now today?
Melissa, you might say the same thing, but I always say this no matter, and you've heard me say it, is consistency. You got to be consistent across any channels, you focus on. A mediocre brand that is consistent will eventually outperform a genius brand that disappears for months at a time.
Yeah, that's usually what I say too, is knowing what channel is right for you, being consistent on it. But I also think, and I'm losing my train of thought at the very end.
Cut.
What was I going to say? It was important. What was the question again? Start over.
What advice? I'm dying. What would be one piece of advice that you would give businesses, whether on social media, marketing in general, brand? What would be that one piece of advice?
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. It was about business goals. Do you want me to just go into it?
Yeah, just go right into it and we'll start it back up after Blake.
Yeah, that works. So yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Now I just feel I got out of the zone. Okay, anyways. So one piece of advice I think for social media especially is it's not just posting anymore. So making sure whoever is doing your marketing or your social media understands your business goals and is doing something to get you there. So I think that can be a misconception about social, as it's just posting pretty pictures, but it's not. We have a lot of strategy behind it. We think like business owners, and we can really accomplish a lot on a very strong platform.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you once again for both of you joining us today. I think our listeners have learned and will learn a lot from this episode around just some things to consider. I think we brought a lot of clarity to, what can be sometimes really difficult to, get your arms around, even as marketers, who are in this every single day. Like, things are always changing. We're always getting questions. So really appreciate you both being on today. One other thing I'll leave with is where can folks find AR Marketing? Where can they follow you, or what if they're interested in learning more? Like, where can they find you guys?
We're all over the social media. So find us on TikTok. We're really funny. But we're a little more serious on LinkedIn and Instagram, but we have all the channels.
AR Marketing.
Awesome. Love it. Well, appreciate you guys being on, and looking forward to another great episode coming up. We have continued more guests this season. And until next time, see you later.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for tuning in to the Next Gen Strategies podcast, where we share real stories and practical strategies to help you grow your business. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow us wherever you get your podcasts, and don't forget to like and share it on all of our social media channels.